Hi, my name is Patrice Aguirre, and today we are decorating cookies together. We are decorating cookies inspired by this fun book, Smart Cookie by Dana Meachen Rau. Okay, so we're going to start out with some of the supplies we need for cookie decorating. Today we're going to be making a royal icing. Royal icing needs some powdered sugar and a little bit of meringue powder here. Now, you're also going to need some water for mixing it in. But before we get that started, let's talk about a couple other supplies you need. We'll need some piping bags here, but basically it's just a little sleeve to be able to pour icing into, so you can slit or cut off the end and be able to pipe icing onto your cookies. You'll need a pair of scissors to go along with those, any food coloring you might need. The most important thing, of course, is a cookie. I have a little cookie here that we're going to use today to decorate together. Okay, let's get started with making this royal icing. So I have about 1 cup of powdered sugar in this bowl. I'm going to add a little bit of this meringue powder. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit. This is only about a teaspoon for 1 cup. You could add a little bit more if you wanted a little thicker or stronger, but I'm not too worried about that today. All right, now that we have our meringue powder in there, we got to add some water to it. So when we're adding the water, we need to be pretty careful because the powdered sugar tends to dissolve very quickly. So if we add too much, it'll be too runny. We can always add a little bit more as we go if we need it. So here we go. I'm just going to add a little drizzle to start. Whoop. And I'm going to mix it in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of yellow food coloring to this, and then we'll move on to decorating our little cookie. Whoop. Give it just a few drops to start, a little squeeze. I think I'm going to add a little bit more to that. I want a nice bright yellow. There we go. Let's see. We won't make it too bright. I definitely want to be able to tell that it's yellow. I think that's pretty. Okay, now it's time to put some icing on this cookie. So, to keep it nice and simple, we're going to just put 1 layer of dipped icing on it. I'm going to get the spoon out of the way because I'll need as much room as I can to dip that cookie in. Set it aside. Now I did grab a plate. You can grab any kind of tray or paper towel, whatever you need to put a cookie back onto, or a messy spoon, but we'll need that for when we're done dipping this cookie. So to dip a cookie, find whatever side is your top, turn it over, and hold it on the sides. Try to spread your fingers out as much as you can all the way around this cookie, because you don't want to dip your fingers into the icing. I mean, you could just lick it off, but you know, we'll try to keep a little clean. But this will allow you to get a good grip on the cookie to be able to dip it in and hopefully not drop your cookie right into the icing. All right, so when you're ready, we're going to turn it over. Put it right on the surface of your icing. You can see you can kind of just let it go and it'll sit there for a minute. Give a little wiggle, and then you can pull it straight up, but tip it to the side a little bit. And we're going to let a little bit of that icing drip off so that it's not too thick. Now, if it looks like it's going too slow, although I wouldn't worry about it, patience is a good thing to have when you're making cookies. You could always use the back of your spoon or spatula to very gently scrape a little bit off if you think it's too thick or taking too long. There we go. All right, then you can turn it upright. And look at that, you have a nicely covered cookie. And you can either let it start to dry or you can begin decorating it. Okay, so now that we have our cookie covered, we're gonna add some pretty sprinkles. Now, as you can see, this is a little crown, so we're gonna add some pretty jewels to it. So now that you know how to cover a cookie with some royal icing, comes the fun part, all the ways you can decorate. So today we're going to use some sprinkles and a whole bunch of different kinds of candies and decorating candies that I found at the grocery store and at craft stores. Excuse me. So since you just learned how to cover a cookie and put some sprinkles on while it's wet, I'm going to show you how to add some decorations to an already dry cookie. Let's start with this one here. This shape is a dress shape. I use this cookie cutter for it, but I'm going to turn it upside down and turn it into a flower bouquet, and that's what these little flowers are for. These are actually royal icing flowers that I bought from the craft store, and we're basically just going to stick them on here with a little bit more icing. So I'm going to grab some icing that I already have in a bag, and I'm going to use green because we'll add some stems to it as well. So I'll grab my scissors and we'll snip off just the very end of this piping bag, just a little bit. We don't need a very big bowl or big hole, excuse me, because we're going to be making some thin lines to create our stems for our flowers. But the first thing we're going to do is glue these little suckers on. So start taking whatever flowers you'd like, give them a little dab of that icing, and I'm going to put them up at the top here. Boop, stick it on there. Now this icing in the bag is thicker than the icing that we use to dip our cookie in. And that's because we need to make sure that it's not going to slide around everywhere. It's basically acting like glue. So now I want to add some stems to these flowers. We don't need to add a whole bunch of stems to all of them. We just want to make it look like they have stems. So I'm just going to start drawing some lines, gently squeezing the bag from one flower down to the bottom. Let's go to the next one, and you can make it go right beside that other stem, or you can make it kind of crisscross too. That's looking pretty cute. So if you want, you can add a couple more on the sides to make it look like those stems are coming from the other flowers, kind of fill it in a little bit. There we go. Now every flower has a stem. I'm going to set this aside. And one more cute thing to make it look like a tied up bouquet is I used a little bit of this licorice rope that you can peel apart to make a little bow. I didn't even really tie a bow. I kind of just wrapped it around to make it look like one. And we're going to stick it right here so it looks like it's holding all those flowers together. Isn't it cute? So since we just did a really pretty little flower bouquet, I'm kind of in a springy mood, so I'm going to make some more flowers. Now these are even easier. I made little cookie lollipops, but they look like flowers. And what I used for these are these little candy melts. They're kind of like white chocolate. Some of them are flavored, but they come in all different colors. You can get these at the craft store. And the way we put these on isn't even with any icing. I basically just got my cookies into the oven. Before I put them in the oven, I put these sticks in. These are special sticks for cookie lollipops. So you can put them right into the side of your dough. You can kind of see, you just press it into the side. I would make it go at least halfway up to make sure it's nice and sturdy. Bake your cookies, and when you think they're nice and firm, you want to get them a little golden brown around the edges. As soon as you take the pan out of the oven, go ahead and start putting these candy melts on here. And you can make any kind of design with these, but what's nice about this is they look like flowers. So you have your little yellow center and some pretty pink petals. Now you put them on when they're hot because they'll melt just enough to stick to the cookie. Obviously I didn't do that one hot, but this is how they'll come out. And as you can see, they're staying on. So that's another cute way to make a bouquet. You can set these in a vase or you can tie them together. Okay, now that we've learned to do some icing techniques and some easy candy melt techniques, we're going to go back to how we decorated that very first crown cookie. Here's a cookie I made ahead that I dipped in a light blue frosting to give it a sky background. And then while it was still wet, I had put this little construction truck on it and some brown sugar to make it look like a construction site. This is a cool idea for some boys, especially if maybe you're having a birthday party for, say, a little brother or somebody who likes construction trucks. Now, I left a lot of open space here and I want to add a little something else to it. This is a fun thing you can do to decorate cookies. You can write right onto your cookie with these edible pens. They're really cool. You can get these at the craft stores. Sometimes you can find them at the grocery store. But it's nice because you can let your cookie icing dry and then you can write directly on the cookie. So I'm just going to do a cute little message here. Nothing fancy because I do not have very nice handwriting. I'm just going to write. Ooh. Oh, fix that G. Dig! It's a cute, simple cookie to make. I bet you know who this is. It's a little Grogu. He's so cute. I made this as a Valentine's cookie, and I used a little candy heart to put on him to make it look like he's holding it. So here's what I did to make Grogu. He's more simple than you think. First of all, I used this cookie cutter. As you can see, it's a gingerbread cookie cutter. And it doesn't quite look right, but here's what I did to make his head the right shape. I actually spread it apart a little bit. If you have a metal cookie cutter like this, they're nice and thin and you can move it a bit. So that spreads out his ears longer to give him nice big ears, and it rounds out his head. Now if you want, when you cut the cookie, you can trim off a little bit from the top so his head isn't sticking up so far, or you could just not even color that part. Makes it pretty easy. So I only used 2 colors for him. Here's kind of a light green color and a tan color for his robe. Now his head is kind of just in the shape of a space saucer. Think aliens, or maybe even Saturn with its rings around it. And then his robe, you could just make him straight down. I added a little bit of shape around his collar area just because I felt like it. So once it's all dry, you can use the markers to put his little face on. So let's start with his eyes. His eyes are kind of a watermelon seed shape. So find where you want to put his eyes. Oops, excuse me. You can always put a couple dots to figure out where you want them and then draw around them. And that will allow you to get it right where you want it. So let's start with this. I'm just gonna kind of start with a circle. I'm gonna set it down. Start with a circle, we'll kind of color it in. Now, if your icing is a little soft, oops, oh no, I missed. The marker might press through it a little bit. Okay, so I was also holding the marker off to the side. And now I'm going to have to fix his eye to make it a little bigger, but hey, he's cute with big eyes, so that's okay. And as you can see, my icing is a little bit soft, so it's making it not quite as smooth. Here we go. That fixes him a little bit. All right, so there's his eyes. Kind of a watermelon shape, just a little pointed in the middle. Then I'm going to give him a cute little, I guess you could say this is his nose or his little smile. Just a really little guy. Doo-doo. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump down to his robe real quick. I'm going to add just a couple lines from the corner of his collar on his robe, just so you could see where it is. There we go. If you wanted, you could put that line down the middle. That looks like his collar. Now we need to do his ears. This is fun and easy. As you can see on this one, I gave him a little bit of pink inside his ears. I'm going to do that again. Now for that, all I did was use this pink marker, draw a little line across the middle, and then I used my finger to just smudge it. You can kind of just rub it around, add a little more if you think it needs it, kind of scribble some on there, the shape and the area where you want it, and rub it on. Real cute, huh? You could use that if you're doing any other kind of character or a face and use it for blush. Kind of rosy cheeks. There's his pink. And just to make sure you can tell that it's his ears, I'm going to add that little line up above the pink. You can draw it all the way around the pink if you want to, but I kind of like just having an idea of it being the shape of his ear. Pretty cute. I'm liking it so far. Now the last thing we're going to do is add the little candy heart. Now you can put this candy heart on while your cookie is still wet, but if you want to be able to draw these lines neatly and not be bumping it too much, it might be easier just to put it on the end. So we're going to use some of our thicker frosting, pipe a little dot on there, and put it right in the middle of his robe so it looks like he's holding it. Love you. He's so cute. I don't know about you, but I love decorating cookies for the holidays. And the next one coming up is St. Patrick's Day. So fun. I love all the green, and I love the gold, and I love the rainbow colors. So we're going to use all of that in these next 3 cookies. Now, let's start out with the most simple one. Here is a shamrock shaped cookie that I dipped, just like we did with the first cookie, but into a green color icing. Now, you could just throw sprinkles on that. Some gold sprinkles or rainbow sprinkles would be really pretty. But I'm going to do something a little bit different, show you how to pipe some swirly swirlies with some white icing in a bag. Now, just like with the green icing, I snipped off just the very tips so I have a nice little line to work with. Excuse my crinkly bag, it's a little bit noisy. You can get bags that are not so crinkly. I just like these. So if you're going to do some piping, here's the best way to do it. Put however much you think you need in your bag. Give it a good twist so you make it kind of a carrot shape. And you'll hold the bag with most of your fingers, oops, excuse my drips, right where you put the twist. That allows you to get a good grip and be able to apply pressure. And as you go, if you need more pressure, you can keep twisting the bag. So here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna do anything crazy. We could do something like write on here if you have nice handwriting, something like lucky. That would be cute. But I'm just gonna make this kind of a pretty cookie. So I'm just gonna put some swirls all over it, just like this. Now you can go nice and slow. You can speed it up once you get the hang of it. You probably don't want to put the tip of your piping bag directly on the cookie because it'll kind of just look smudged. So if you hold it just a little bit above, just enough that the icing touches it, it'll work nicely. I'm going to put this flat just to make sure my icing doesn't start running the wrong direction. And you can make these swirls go wherever you want. And honestly, you could start with a swirl on the inside and go out, and then swirl up and around the other way too. This is fun when you have all these shapes that you can kind of make up as you go, because you can do whatever you want with them, and it's really beautiful and you can get nice and creative. But then again, if you're worried about it being too tricky, just stick with the simple swirls. This is looking pretty. I'd like it. Gotta turn my cookie around so I can get to the other side. I'm going to add some, I think, that are not completely swirly. There we go. Had a little frosting on my fingers there. Almost done. And you can use any color you want for your piping icing. Put lots of different colors on there. Use all one color. All right, I think it's done. It's cute. It just gives a little bit of fun design on there, something interesting to look at. All right, I'm gonna set that one aside so it can dry. And we're gonna move on to the next cookie. We're going to make little leprechaun hats. Here's what I did for this one. I got some peanut butter cups here, chocolate covered peanut butter cups. Take off that wrapper and have a little bowl of frosting aside to dip them in. I stuck a toothpick in the end. You can kind of see where I had my toothpick. I let it dry too much before I took the toothpick out. But I just stuck a toothpick in the end of it on the bottom. And I dipped it right into that royal icing, the same icing we use for the cookies. And then I set it on a tray to dry. And I did leave that dry overnight just to make sure it got nice and firm. But it turned it all nice and green, which is the same color as the bottom of the cookie, which is the bottom of the hat, or the rim of the hat. So all you need is a small circle, your chocolate peanut butter cup dipped in the same color that you put on your cookie, and we're going to draw a little belt around the bottom of this peanut butter cup, because usually those little leprechauns have a little belt. That's where this handy dandy marker comes in. I'm just going to kind of draw a line around the bottom of this cup. Now you could use chocolate, you could melt it a bit and put it in your piping bag to draw that around, but we're going easy, and this is easier. Look how nice and quick it goes on there. Now the ink on these markers does take a couple minutes to dry, so just kind of be careful where you're holding it so you don't smudge it too much. Oop, I got a little bit on my finger. That's okay, we'll just be careful. And this does not need to be perfect. We're doing this just for fun. So if you don't get this on here just right, it's no big deal. There we go. I'm gonna kind of choose the side I like the most. And then I'm gonna maybe draw a little buckle on there. There's usually kind of a little buckle on it, right? So all I'm gonna do to draw a buckle is to add half of an outline of a square. I'm leaving it just like that. Now, we need to get this top of the hat onto the rim of the hat. So we're gonna use our icing from our piping bag, put a little dollop on there right in the middle, and we'll stick the top of the hat right on it. And there you have it, a cute little leprechaun hat. And it'll be yummy. Uh-oh, did you see that? I need to add more frosting, just a little bit. It also needs to dry. Once it dries, it won't slide around. There we go. It's cute. I'm gonna set that aside. Now, I have one final cookie project. This one is pretty exciting because this is going to be a surprise inside cookie. So, what we need for this one is a whole bunch of cookies. We're gonna need 2 cookies to be the top and the bottom of a little box we're making. So you need 2 cookies of the same shape and size. I went ahead and frosted them so they're ready to go and dry. And then you use that same cookie cutter to cut more of the same shape and size. Now these, I used a second smaller cookie cutter to cut out the middle so it's hollow. And here's what we're gonna do with it. We're gonna start with 1 cookie on the bottom, and we're going to use our frosting to glue layers of these hollow cookies on, and then give it a top. And on the inside here, see that? You got a little space for whatever kind of treat you want to add to it. So let's get started putting these together. Grab your icing bag again. Now these don't need to be covered because we're not really going to see them very well, so I'm not too worried about it. We're gonna give a nice big kind of globbing circle around the edges of this bottom cookie, and that's what we'll stick one of our first rings onto. There we go, that'll hold it together. We're gonna put more on top of this ring to put the next ring on top of it. All the way around. Don't be afraid to put a nice big globby or line around it because you need to make sure they stick together. There's the next one. As you can see, I did not cut this one perfectly, but again, that's okay because it's inside the middle and you won't even notice. All right, so I'm not going to put anything on top of this just to make sure we don't get it too messy, and I'm not going to glue the top on because you need to be able to remove the top when it's done. So you may want to give this a little time to dry. I'm just going to set it aside for a minute, and I'm going to work on the top because I want to decorate this a little bit. So what I did was use a really small cookie cutter to cut a little shamrock, and I just dipped this in some lighter colored icing, and then I put lots of gold sprinkles on top. So fancy. So we're going to glue this one on top of the lid, put some icing on there, and stick it right in the middle because it's cute. Very nice. So then we'll set this aside as well. Now I'm going to kind of skip ahead. When this is dry, or you think it's holding itself together pretty well, we're going to add a fun side to it. So when I think of leprechauns and shamrocks and St. Patrick's Day, I think of that gold treasure over the rainbow. So we're going to use this rainbow striped candy to cover the edges of our box, and that'll kind of hide those layers. So we're going to do the same thing and glue it around the edges. Now you can put it right onto here, onto the candy strip, and then put it on, but it might be easier to apply it to the edges of your cookie box first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and glob a whole bunch on here. You can do sections at a time if you like. I think I'm going to do that just to make sure I don't get too messy when I'm touching it. And just press it along the side as you go. All right, and it looks like we're going to need more of this candy to cover the top portion here because it's not very wide. But we'll get this on first. All right, and it also looks like we'll need a little extra to cover the back of the cookie, but we'll get to that in a minute. We'll just cut some more. So I already separated a little bit here to make sure I had pieces because I kind of figured I might need a little bit. These colors come nicely apart. I'm going to add a little bit more frosting just to make sure I got that spot covered. There we go. And we'll fill in the top. Uh-oh, you know what? That might actually be too wide. Let's use the smaller piece here. There we go. This has just 2 colors. That'll work better. Oh yeah, that's just right. All right, here we go. Haha, I'm really liking how that's looking. There we go, wipe off my fingers a little bit. That's why it's always good to have some paper towels or napkins nearby. Look, nice and rainbow colored. It's so cute, I love it. Now, I'm just going to set that aside. I'll finish the back side later because I want to show you how to do the rest of this. So for the inside, once this is completely dry, because you don't want to put anything in there while it's wet because it might get kind of glued in and stuck. Let's move this over. You can put whatever kind of treats you want in there. So what I found today are some chocolate coins, and they're conveniently wrapped in some gold foil. And I made sure that when I cut the insides of my cookie out that they were large enough for these gold coins. So I can just drop these right in here. Ha ha ha. Look at that. Now if you can put as many of these as you can fit in there if you want, or you could do something like sprinkles. If you can't find something like this, I'm going to go ahead and actually remove one of these coins. Uh-oh, if I can do it. I'm trying to be careful so I don't bump the cookies around too much when they're not dry yet. Set that aside. I'm going to add some more gold sprinkles. Oh yeah, there we go. And then when you're ready to give it to a friend, when everything's dry, remember, you just set this on top. You can put it into a little snack bag, a candy bag, or you can find a little box to put it in as well. And you say, the luck of the Irish to ya. And they get a little gold treasure inside. Look at all the fun cookies we made today. That wasn't too hard, was it? I hope you all had fun. I hope you have some good ideas to make your own fun cookies at home. And remember, cookies don't have to be tricky, and you don't need to be worried about making them perfect. Cookies are for enjoying. So make it fun and easy. Thanks for watching.